Today we are having another RuneScape 3 discussion, and today we are talking about a comment that I got more than once. I didn't actually count how many. I'm not going to show them on screen because I don't want to put these people on blast or anything, but I got a comment several times on some of my videos I've been making over the past month, and it started with the video I made where I was talking about how excited I am about the new changes that Jagex is making in RuneScape 3, and I said that I think this constitutes a name change, that it should be called RuneScape 4, and I had some people come into my comments with this sentiment. I'm not reading a comment verbatim, but this is the sentiment. We should just give up on RuneScape 3 and have old school RuneScape be the main game. People were saying stuff like, it's the more popular game, so let's just go with that one, and you know, there were some other people that were just saying, RuneScape 3 is dead, it's too late, they've made too many mistakes, blah, 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 and like, let's just leave it behind. And I don't know if you can guess this based on all the videos that I've made on my channel so far up to this point, but I disagree with that sentiment. And I just want to talk about that because I'm sure there are multiple people who feel that way, who are like, you know what, old school RuneScape, that's the RuneScape I remember, it's the RuneScape I fell in love with, and this is the version that I want to be the main game. And then, you know, there are plenty of people who didn't play it back in the day, or have no nostalgia for it back in the day, but they do prefer old school RuneScape today, and they're like, it's a better game, let's just stick with this one. But I disagree, and I think that RuneScape 3, or RuneScape 4 now, has so much potential to be its own thing, and I think it deserves to be its own thing. And I mean, it's more than just potential for me, because I already prefer 3 than old school RuneScape, and I have an entire video about why I prefer RuneScape 3 over old school, and then I have an entire video of things in old school RuneScape that I don't like, and those two videos are kind of companions. And before we actually jump into it, please leave a like on this video. It helps my video a lot. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about why we shouldn't get rid of RuneScape 3. I think it's really unfair to just dismiss RuneScape 3 because of the problems that it's had. And on top of that, they are like aiming to resolve a lot of these problems that people have had with the game. So if we're saying like, oh, it's too late, it's dead, they've made all these they have all these problems, well, they're undoing a lot of those problems. And there are some people who say, I won't play it unless they do brand new servers where other people who used free XP, you know, like can't use those items and stuff. I have my thoughts about that. Like, I think that would be cool. I would definitely do that. I don't know why you can't just give this game a chance regardless. Like, yeah, there are people who used free XP and got really high, you know, high level, but I don't know, they can't now. So like, if you're gonna make a new account, any new accounts that start around the same time as you won't be able to like surpass you just by, you know, having more money than you. I don't know, because there are like, if I signed on to old school RuneScape with a new account, there'd be tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people with higher levels than me. And sure, they didn't get them by buying things, but they also just are higher level than me, you know? But maybe it's just the principle for some people that they're like, I don't like that they used free XP to get there. It ruins my experience. I don't personally think that's a huge deal, like that they got there by using those things. I am glad they're removing them. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they're removing free XP. I think that that's a good thing that should go away, but I think people should still give RuneScape 3 a chance now that they're making these changes. And I think the whole like, well, I won't do it unless they make fresh start servers. It's like, look, we need to reward Jagex for finally changing their mindset with RuneScape 3 to a player-centered mindset. And yes, you could argue it should have been that the entire time, and it definitely should have, but they're doing it now. And so we need to, you know, vote with our, we can't really vote with our wallets, because if you have a membership to old school, then that counts for RuneScape 3 too. But kind of, because if you have a membership to RuneScape and you log into RuneScape 3 a lot, they'll know that you're playing RuneScape 3. And the more players RuneScape 3 gets, the more Jagex will go, okay, we're heading in a good direction. So I think people need to reward Jagex for this new direction they're going in, so that they'll keep going this direction, because they've already done so much and they're gonna do a lot more. And I think for people to go, they haven't done enough, it's not enough, I'm like, okay, come on, throw them a bone. Like, they're doing a lot. We need to tell them, like, yes, this is good. This is what you need to be doing. And I think more people trying out the game is the answer to that. But I also think this whole idea of this game is like worthless, like let's just leave it behind, is so silly, because there are so many things that this game, in my opinion, does better than old school. And I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me, and a lot of people did disagree with me when I made those 2 videos, and I'm not gonna totally rehash that here because that conversation happened already and it's in those videos. And if you wanna go watch those videos, you can. But I think there's a lot of things that RuneScape 3 does really, really well that it would just, it's a shame to throw it out. Like, it would just be a waste to throw it out. Like necromancy. That's my favorite skill in RuneScape 3. Does not exist in old school. And some would argue it can't exist in old school. But that's a pro and con about both games, right? The pro of always doing a poll is you'll never have an evolution of combat update, right? That runs off all the players, because if something huge like that doesn't pass a poll, it's not going into the game. The con of that is the players are so change averse. It feels like they just don't want change, that a lot of times good things don't get put into the game because the player base is like, don't change it, just keep it the same. And it's like, okay, but for a game like this to survive, it has to evolve. You know, and it can evolve with the audience. It can evolve in the way the audience feels happy with. You know, it doesn't have to be an evolution of combat thing where everybody's like, this doesn't even feel like RuneScape. You know, I like evolution of combat, but I'm just saying, like, that's how people felt at the time. But, you know, it limits the game. And I think RuneScape 3 has added a lot of really cool stuff that is really fun to play with, like necromancy. So cool. Never would have passed a poll in old school. But it's my favorite skill in RuneScape 3, and it's my favorite combat skill. Archaeology. I love archaeology. It's one of my favorite skills. It's a great skill, and it makes perfect sense in the world of RuneScape. It's really cool. I love archaeology. It's so much fun. And I don't know, man, like, there's so much in this game. Bonfires are great for training fire making, where you can just throw several logs into the bonfire and you don't have to do lines. I think it's a huge improvement to fire making. Resting, where you can right click on the run button and your character sits down and your run energy comes back at a much quicker rate. Fantastic idea. That's a great idea. I don't like the run energy system at all in RuneScape. If I had my way, they would get rid of it. And I know a lot of old school players hate that because they're like, oh, but run energy is like part of the strategy for bossing and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, if they got rid of it, it just wouldn't be part of the strategy anymore. You'd have a new strategy. That feels like, I'm not saying it is because I don't know these people's minds, right? But to me, that feels like, oh, that would be change, and change is bad. And it's like, okay, the run energy system is outdated. It was outdated when it was in the game in 2005, 2006, 2007, it was outdated, and it's definitely outdated now. And to me, it holds back old school RuneScape. Not as much RuneScape 3 because they've basically made it where you rarely ever run out of run energy, but I think if they added the rest thing to old school RuneScape, that would be cool, man. Like, that would be really cool. And it fits with the world. Like, your character sitting down and taking a break and getting their energy back much faster than if they were still walking around makes perfect sense. So that's a great addition. The musicians, like, you can sit down and listen to a musician and you gain your run energy back super fast, like much faster than even resting. That's a great idea. And they're like dotted around like every so often. That's a fantastic idea, you know? And it feels like it fits in the world. You know, stuff like that. Like, these aren't the only things, you know. I don't want people in the comments being like, really? Those are the things that you think are better? Just those things? No, this isn't a full exhaustive list. I'm just giving these as examples. And then a bigger example is, I think RuneScape 3's bossing is really cool. And I haven't even really done a lot of it, but I've watched other people do it, and I've seen some of these other bosses, and I think RuneScape 3 has some really, really cool bosses. Now, I think old school RuneScape is adding cool bosses, like within the last 5-6 years. I think a lot of their newer bosses are pretty cool, but I think RuneScape 3, like something that they're kind of known for is their bossing. Like, if you could say one good thing about RuneScape 3 that even a lot of old school players might agree with you on, it's that the bossing in RuneScape 3 is pretty cool. And they have some really cool bosses in there that aren't in old school. And it would be a shame to lose those. And also, you know, there are a lot of great quests. There are really, really awesome quests in RuneScape 3 that I don't want to lose. And old school, you won't have them in old school RuneScape because old school RuneScape is going a different direction with the lore. And, you know, you can say what you want about the gods coming back. Some people don't like it. I don't know why they don't like it. To me, that feels like a natural progression of the story. I think, again, it feels, from what I've heard people say, it feels like another, like, oh, that's different than when I was a kid. The gods weren't there when I was a kid, and now they're here in RuneScape 3, and I don't like that because that's different. And it's like, okay, but the story needs to progress. You know, like, I like that the overall story progressed. We went into a new age. Like, that's really cool. Something huge happened in the game, and it moved us into a new age. And the gods coming back makes sense. They would want to come back, right? They would be trying to do anything in their power to, you know, somehow get rid of Guthix or get rid of his ability to keep them away so that they could come back. Like, it makes sense that that's what they would want. And spoilers, by the way, spoilers, but Sliske killing Guthix, it's a really powerful moment. Like, when Guthix takes you through his memories and how he lost everything and how he decided to, like, just through sheer power of his anger at the gods, basically became a god himself and decided to protect, you know, sentient beings from the gods because he just saw how reckless and unfeeling the gods were towards mortals. He saw it firsthand when he was a mortal. And so he just, through sheer anger and force of will, became a god himself so that he could protect mortals from the gods. And then, you know, he set up Gielinor as a really cool place. And I'm pretty sure he even brought the first humans to Gil. And then once there were a ton of humans there, then the gods were like, oh, this place has some pretty cool worshipers that could be worshiping us. And they showed up and they were like, you know what, let's fight each other here on Gil. And then Guthix was like, it's happening again. It's all happening again. And so then that's when he blocked all the gods from coming to Gil. And he was like, you know what, you know, nobody's coming. And then he set himself up as the world guardian to protect Gielinor from the gods. And then when he gets killed by Sliske, again, spoilers, and after you see all his memories, he appoints you as the world guardian. So it's now your job to protect mortals from the gods, from the other gods. And I think he even gives you a little boost in power in the form of XP lamps that he gives you. But in universe, he gives you a little boost of power after, like, before he dies. And then he dies, and it's a really powerful moment. And then as soon as he dies, Saradomin pops up, and you see Saradomin. And he's like, well, finally, I can show up. It's just such a cool moment. And I know people don't like that the gods came back, but I think it's really cool. Like, it's a really cool change to the world. And it's interesting. It's, from a story perspective, it's interesting for the narrative to progress in that way. And then it introduced us into the 6th Age. And then I don't know where the story is now. Based on that video that Jagex posted, it seems like maybe the gods are being banished again. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the quests, so I might need to just look into it and just read a synopsis of, like, what's going on in the lore, but I don't know. To give up on all that, to wipe it away, is such a waste. And of course, you know, I am biased, right? I'll admit that. You know, you might say that in the comments, and I'll agree, I am biased. I prefer this game over old school RuneScape, so of course, I wouldn't want them to get rid of this one and make old school the permanent one, the only one. But I also think that that's just so dismissive of a group of people who are like me. You know, I'm not the only one. There are tons of people who prefer RuneScape 3 over old school. And there are tons of people who play both games and enjoy both games. Just because you are not sold on the changes that they're making to suggest that, oh, like, just take their game away from them, like, it doesn't matter, it's dead, take it away. Just so dismissive, and frankly, it's rude. It's really rude. But I just think there's so much potential here. And there's so much good in this game that a lot of people, especially old school players, haven't had the chance to see because there've been so many friction points early on in the game, like microtransactions and confusing UI and, you know, a lot of graphical and there wasn't a cohesive visual style, not a cohesive tone, you know? So there was a lot of friction points early on. And, you know, especially with the microtransactions, a lot of people weren't playing it just on principle. You know, there were a lot of old school players that were like, I'm not gonna play this game on principle. I'm not gonna give Jagex the satisfaction. So now that they took away microtransactions and they're changing a lot of these other friction points, and they're really, really putting in effort to make this a game that people anywhere can enjoy and recentering on the player and not on profit and doing it player first mentality. I think there's a whole lot in this game that old school RuneScape players could enjoy too, you know? And I don't think that we need to have this mentality of which game is going to win. Like which game is, you know, gonna be the champion. Because I think there's been this mentality of it's them or us, you know, it's old school or it's this one. But I say we should enter the age of it's old school and it's RuneScape 3, because these two games can coexist and they're very different games. They're going to continue to be very different games, but that doesn't mean that either one of them is bad. And you can have your preferences, obviously. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. I have my preference. I prefer RuneScape 3, and it's not even the more popular game, but that's the one I prefer. So you can have your preferences. You can still prefer old school RuneScape. You still might not even like RuneScape 3, and that's fine because you're allowed to. You're allowed to not like it. But I don't think we should get rid of it. And nobody's seriously talking about getting rid of it. Jagex has no plans to get rid of it. They wouldn't be putting this many resources into fixing it if they thought that it would be better to just get rid of it. But I just wanted to address that sentiment because to me, enough people said something similar to that in my comments that I was like, there might be a good handful of people who feel this way, who are like, just get rid of it, it's dead. And first of all, it's definitely not dead. I've seen so many more players in it since they've already just made the changes they've made so far. So I think as this year goes on and they make more and more changes, I think we'll see that player count just go up and up and up. And I hope that continues to go that way, because the more people show Jagex, oh, we approve of these changes, the more Jagex will make changes like these. The more Jagex will make changes that are focused on the player and not focused on profit and squeezing money out of you, because that's really where the game's head was before. And there were just so many things that just hadn't been changed. And it's an old game, you know, like 25 years. And really their biggest problem was they were just adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff for 25 years. And they were clumsy about it. The stuff they would add would have these huge ripple effects that would affect like everything. And then they wouldn't address, you know, the big ripples that it made. Or like they would add something that made 5 other things obsolete and then they wouldn't address it. Or they would add something in a new graphical style, but then like they wouldn't change anything else to that graphical style. Or they upgraded the whole game to a new style, except for a few areas, which basically look like old school, but with shaders on, you know? And it was just years and years and 2 decades of that. And only now are they like, all right, let's clean this up. Let's unify this game and clean some things up, rebalance some things. And anyway, I just think it would be a waste of a good game to just throw this game out. And I understand that a lot of people have been angry at this game because of stuff that they've done in the past and free XP and things like that and microtransactions, but Jagex is trying to, you know, fix it. And I don't like this mentality of, oh, people can't change. Like, there are some people who genuinely don't believe in redemption or don't believe in restoration in people or in games or in companies, you know? There were a lot of people when Jagex made this announcement that were like, guys, they're still a company. They don't care about you. And I'm like, they might now, you know, if they have leadership who promotes caring about the player, then, and they set that culture in their company, then they might, you know. It's possible, it is possible for a company to care about their customers. And I know that that feels like a crazy concept, but it is true. And I think we need to celebrate Jagex for that and show them that the changes they're making to this game are good. And the way we do that is not by giving up on it. It's by playing it. It's by logging in, playing the game, putting some of your membership hours into RuneScape 3 and showing them that, hey, you're doing the right thing. You're going the right direction. Keep going. So yes, I'm biased, but hopefully based on the things I've said, you can see that this game is worth keeping around and it's worth playing and trying out, and getting rid of it would be a shame. And I think it's time for us to stop fighting each other, old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3, because we're not enemies. Our games are brothers. Our games are family, you know? I think we can coexist and we can be one big happy community. Like, even if old school players are like, you know what, I don't want to play it, it's just not my thing for these reasons, but you know what, I'm really happy for them and for their community that they are finally getting their dues. And yeah, let's just support one another. Let's just be happy for one another for once, now that RuneScape 3 is actually moving away from its toxic past and becoming a good game. I already liked it before, but it had major problems, and it's becoming a game that I'm proud to play. You know what I mean? I'm proud to be like, look everybody, I'm playing RuneScape 3, and it's fun. So don't get rid of it. Keep it around. Let's have both games. There is no main game. There's the more popular game, which is old school RuneScape, but also Jimmy said something in one of his videos that's very true. Old school RuneScape might look and feel like the game you remember from when you were a kid, but RuneScape 3 is the game you were playing back then, just like physically. RuneScape 3, those are the tiles you walked on. They look different now, but those are the tiles you walked on. The dragon's lair in RuneScape 3, Elvarg's lair, that's the one that you went in as a kid, not the one in old school. That's, you know, that one looks like the one that you went in as a kid, but it's the one in RuneScape 3 that you actually went in. So I think we can't forget that's special, that this game on those servers were the ones that we actually played on as kids. And that legacy, I think, can live on in a way that's different, but still just as fun and engaging as old school. So that is my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. I really want to know what you guys think. Do you think I made any good points? Is there something about RuneScape 3 that I didn't mention that you think makes it more than worth, you know, keeping around? That you're like, this game should definitely stick around for these reasons that Marcus didn't mention. Do you still think that RuneScape 3 should be forgotten? If you think RuneScape 3 should just be abandoned, tell me why. Don't just say dead game, get rid of it. I want to know why. Let me know why in the comments. Please like this video if you watched all the way to the end. I would really, really appreciate that. It would really help this video out a lot. If you want to see my video where I go into detail about why I prefer RuneScape 3 over old school, check out this video.